So there I was, tipsy and pregnant with no cash for an abortion and absolutely zero funds for delivery. As my belly kept growing like a basketball, I had to swallow my pride and borrow some dough from my shady roommate. He was playfully stabbing a knife in the air, all cold as ice. I could take care of this illegitimate kid, but you better tell me right now, who's the jerk who did this to you? How do I break it to him that the jerk is sitting right here? Khoi stumbled home looking like he'd gone 12 rounds with a raccoon, but somehow still clutching a roast duck like it was a trophy. He tossed a bag of takeout onto the table and plopped down like he's just done a marathon. With that look, it was pretty clear he'd just been street racing. "Let's head to the hospital," I said, not bothering to take off my shirt. He shrugged me off, saying, "Meh, I'm good." I sighed, dropping my pajamas and face wash onto the floor, pulling out the first aid kit like I had done this 100 times. Just as I was dabbing my wrist with antiseptic, Khoi's hand shot out and grabbed me tight. "What's up with that?" He smirked, yanking me down onto his lap. Apparently his legs were tired, and his cocky grin was practically glowing despite the bruises. I was sitting over a bunch of Band-Aids on him, and not a blink of emotion crossed his face. "Whatever, it's not like it hurts," he said. After I finished, I squirmed to get up and tidy the mess, but he didn't try to pull me back down. Khoi had this bizarre habit of only eating food served in clean plates, no matter how fancy the takeout box was or how gourmet. It looked he'd turn his nose up at it like he was royalty in his castle. He believed eating out of a box meant you were just scraping by, not truly living. And while Rich Boy bragged about his attitudes, it didn't stop him from dropping extra cash for the fanciest takeout boxes. I always thought, "Hey, just give me that cash and I'll be your delivery girl anytime." I was hustling over with a plate of food, but I was short on cash myself. "What's this?" I turned around and saw Khoi holding up a pregnancy test like it was a winning lottery ticket with 2 bright red lines. My heart started racing. Oh no, forgot to throw that out. Before I could even process, my hand snatched the test and flung it in the trash like it was a hot potato. "Whoa, why do you look so freaked?" Khoi raised an eyebrow, inching closer until our noses nearly touched. "You scared, huh?" he said, tilting his head as he leaned down. I ducked away, but his lips grazed my ear. "No, not that I've never kissed anyone before," I stammered, but there was that one time. 3 months ago, on our first night together, Khoi thought he was climbing into bed with his ex. I jolted awake when he mumbled nonsense as he kissed me for what felt like forever, until I finally pulled away. I let it slide. The next time was in the bathroom, and I didn't even turn him down. I was so blind from shampoo burning in my eyes that when I spun around looking for a towel, I bumped right into him. Our lips did that weird thing, so I thought, why not keep going? Khoi didn't want to argue. He just grabbed my chin to make sure I was looking straight into his eyes. "So guess what? It happened again, except this time it wasn't an accident." I sputtered and made a noise that sounded like a cat hacking up a hairball, and Khoi froze. "Ugh, you find me gross." I wasn't going to deny it, but then I choked out another sound. The atmosphere turned icy. This was just a physical reaction. It didn't mean anything right, but Khoi clearly didn't take it that way, and took a step back, gritting his teeth. You can find someone else," I blurted out, not knowing that would send him into a rage. Khoi's cold laugh sent chills down my spine. He threw his jacket aside and stormed out like a bull at a rodeo, while I stood there feeling like a deer in headlights. I stood there frozen as the door slammed shut behind him. After a few moments, I sluggishly sat down, tying up the trash bag with the pregnancy test to toss away. Did we ever get it right? Those misunderstandings were racking up, and that clumsy moment was about to shake my world up even more. Now I had a potential baby brewing inside a little something that definitely shouldn't exist. How could I, a guy, possibly be pregnant? I asked the doctor that, and he explained my body was built differently, waving around my medical file like it was bedtime reading material. But all I heard was the crash of my world collapsing, the edges of my vision fading away like a magic trick. All I could catch were the doctor's lips moving as he said it was too small to terminate, and I'd have to wait another 2 weeks. I was too broke after the checkup to even think about getting rid of it. My internship paycheck went straight back home, and I was out of options. Luckily, I had 2 weeks to figure something out. Thank goodness Khoi left that roast duck tonight. At least I wouldn't starve. Still, even though I knew he wouldn't be back anytime soon, I hesitated before packing everything up. He once said the meat from this spot was super tender and the skin was crispy enough to be addictive. My mouth was watering. Not able to hold back, I snagged a piece just as the door swung open and nearly made me jump out of my skin. Koi walked in with a gigantic grocery bag, and his scowl was just as dark as when he left. He eyed the leftover duck like it was my last card in poker and threw some sass my way. Like, "You don't even hate me, huh?" Gulping down the last of what I had, I croaked, "No, not at all." The dude looked like he was having an off day. "Come here, take your medicine," he said. So that's why he was out grabbing meds. "I didn't think you'd actually return." "Where else would I go?" Koi replied, his eyes narrowing. "Home to my bat cave," he said light-heartedly, shooting back a wit that tinged with just a hint of sarcasm. I stared, caught a bad vibe. It definitely felt like he was ready for a showdown. Koi moved in when he started staying with me from freshman year, but only really settled in during our second semester of freshman year. Spoiled rich kid from a crime family. Of course he had standards. Why bunk in a double room when he could have a single? He only came to live with me after his dad booted him out for picking a fight with the household. They froze his credit cards and put him in that giant mansion, but I was the only one who could see past his facade and actually lend a hand sneak him food while he mooched off my internship salary, until his butler felt sorry for him and secretly started shuffling more cash his way. Things smoothed out between Koi and his family just last month when the family threw him a super expensive birthday bash. And, of course, Koi decided to invite me right before everything flipped upside down. That guy cuddled me all night, and he didn't want to bring it up, so I figured he probably forgot. Koi bought a bunch of antibiotics to take. I wonder if he finished them all. It's like I'm sick without being sick. I covered my stomach, and when I caught his eye, I quickly looked away. I took my meds and sipped on something knowing he wouldn't understand, so I just made up a story about it. The medication's about to get into an epic battle. Koi stared at me for a while, nodding like he was assuming I'd gotten over it. Who would have thought it would be Jiangvi? "I want to touch you," he said, and before I could even respond, his hand was on my forehead, a chill seeping through my pores, definitely warmer than me. He pulled his hand back. If I don't get better, I have to change meds, and that lingering warmth from his touch had me in a daze. That brash guy managed to learn how to hold back after I threw up a couple of times, but that touchy-feely moment didn't last through the night. In the middle of the night, he sneaked over to my bed. The kiss I tried to dodge still landed on Jiangvi's lips. "You really don't know what I'm thinking." I held my breath, pretending to be asleep, while he stared at my face for what felt like an eternity, and then lightly nibbled my earlobe. "Just trying to drive me crazy here." I lay still until I heard him breathing steadily, then I slowly opened my eyes. If I'd heard those words before that fateful night, I would have been elated. I had every chance to push him away, yet I didn't. Not just that I kind of liked it. Living together with the three of us, my heart had started to feel the powerful rush of emotions, the right amount of care, and that ambiguous relationship was pulling me in like a rat in a maze, eyeing a fresh, warm croissant like a little boat floating in an endless calm sea, heading toward the bright lighthouse. But that morning, waking up in Koi's arms, I foolishly thought we would have a new beginning, only for a conversation between his dad and the butler to end that dream. Kwai's dad told the butler to welcome the chosen fiancé who couldn't make it to her birthday party because she missed her flight. Living with Koi for way too long made me forget that a rat like me probably wouldn't see the sun. The lighthouse was still shining bright, aiming toward its destined port, while my tattered little boat was about to sink into the depths. With over 2 weeks left until I got my internship paycheck, I found an extra job at the convenience store by the school gate. The hourly pay was $18,000 and night shifts came with a bonus of 1.5 for the lowly labor. The only perk was I could take home expired bento boxes before my shift ended. Suddenly, time was tight. Morning internship night at the convenience store. For extra work, finishing shifts, and rushing back to the dorm to tweak my thesis, only to get a paltry 4 hours of sleep before waking up again. The kind dorm manager knew I worked late would usually leave the door open half an hour past curfew. She reassured me that if I just graduated and got a full-time job, everything would be fine. I nodded, thinking she was right. Just a little more effort, just a little more until life suddenly delivered a knockout punch. I heard the news I was thinking of renting a place near the office after graduation. The HR rep hesitated for a long time, delicately revealing that the company had been struggling this year, and chances are they'd limit recruiting full-timers, which means I wouldn't. Get a permanent position. After graduation, I'd have to pack up and go. Just giving you a heads up so you can make arrangements early, she said, and I was grateful for the early notice. At least I won't miss the golden chance to job hunt. The only catch is that in the coming days, I would have to be bouncing between job fairs and interviews. Many people looked calm on the surface, but they were actually sinking. I kept working steadily, leaving with a smile while saying goodbye to coworkers then, bracing myself for rush hour on the subway, surrounded by the dim, gloomy atmosphere. Today was clearly one of those unlucky days. While cleaning the shelves, I accidentally smashed 2 bottles of fruity liquor. After that mess, I figured today would be a freebie. After sweeping up the glass, I found myself dazed next to the trash can. The pressure was enormous, wishing someone would make Quý Khôi take his medicine again, just like before, acting like I didn't see the abyss that stood between us. I pretended not to know he already had a promised fiancée. My phone buzzing shattered my daydream, and there it was, Quý Khôi. "Why aren't you at the dorm?" he asked. "You still have the pills, aren't you going to take them?" The next morning, when I brought back Duck, he was out on the balcony taking a call. The call lingered for a while, and when he came back, he felt like a breath of fresh spring air. He said he had to fly to Italy to sort out the mess left behind by his grandfather, and who knows, maybe I'll perish there. "You're still pretending, huh?" I squeezed my eyes shut, battling with myself. Just as I was about to respond, he turned his back and walked away. A whole week passed in silence, and I let out a sigh of relief. Finally, some good news. I was on overtime at whichever company it was that required interns to work extra hours. 2 seconds later, a new message arrived with my location for him to pick me up, and oh, he wanted to introduce me to some of his buddies. The tower is the ultimate barrier separating the class divides. After graduation, about the clouds and the mud, it'll be even clearer. I didn't want to get dragged into his elite social world, especially not with Quý Khôi. "Nope, I'm busy," I said, finishing my answer while shoving my phone into my pocket, heading back to the store to finish the remaining 18,000. I was just about to clock in when the automatic doors slammed open and a wave of noise from a group of guys and girls flooded in, leaving me frozen in the chaos. I recognized Quý Khôi's voice. "Stop messing around," he said, his scalp tight, the urge to run like crazy pulsing through him, but it was too late. After saying that, he turned around, our eyes locked, and his smile faded. "Is this your overtime?" His irritation made the entire place go dead silent. The stares pouring out were anything but discreet as they blatantly scrutinized me. It was exceedingly uncomfortable. I put on a forced smile that matched my uniform and nodded at the friend I was supposed to hand over my shift to. "I'm heading out first," I said, but that didn't really mean it. 2 broken bottles required a report. Thankfully, everyone soon got distracted by something else dulling the sting like a pin stuck in my back. Except Quý Khôi was too, persistent in standing at the counter demanding an explanation. What's there to explain? Simply that I'm short on cash. I thought about fabricating a story to borrow money from Quý Khôi, but cash can be returned, relationships cannot. I didn't want to get further entangled. After a bit of a standoff, he finally backed down. "Are you better?" "Well, as long as you didn't catch it from me, we're good. You must really be healthy." Quý Khôi seemed to want to say something, but his train of thought was cut short by an unexpected shout, and his expression changed in an instant. I recognized that it was Mr. Khôi's voice. "Stop messing around," he said, tension evident in his taut scalp, a desperate urge to flee bubbling up within me, but it was too late. After finishing his sentence, he turned around, our eyes locked, his smile frozen like a popsicle in December. My face started to darken. "Is this your overtime?" His anger made the room as quiet as a library. The stares from everybody were not even trying to be discreet, practically drilling into me. Feeling quite uncomfortable, I forced a smile and nodded at my buddy like we were in some bizarre sitcom. I was about to clock out. I'm heading home now, but I couldn't. 2 bottles of liquor shattered, and I needed to write a report. Thankfully, everyone was soon distracted by something else, and the feeling of needles poking into my back eased, except for Mr. Khôi's insistence. He stood in front of the counter, insisting I explain myself. Explain what? It's simple. I'm broke. For a moment, I thought about making up some excuse to borrow money from Mr. Khôi, but cash can be returned. Love affairs, however, are sticky. I didn't want to dig myself deeper. After a brief tug-of-war, he finally gave in. "Are you better yet?" "Yeah, as long as I don't pass it on to you," I replied. Maybe it was because he's built like a tank. Mr. Koi looked like he was going to say something, but was interrupted by a sudden loud shout that made his face twist in shock, and he turned around. Following the noise, I found a guy sprawled on the hallway floor, his ankle caught on a shelf like it was auditioning for a horror movie. I turned to my shift buddy and asked, "Dude, did you even mop the floor yet?" He shook his head like a bobblehead, telling me there was no time to dissect the scientific reasons behind this mishap. First, we needed to handle the wound. I dashed off to grab the first aid kit, while Quý Khôi, looking like a thundercloud, shoved through the crowd and scooped the guy up. The crowd erupted in a chorus of gasps in the cramped store. Sounded like a pop concert gone wrong. "Koi, I hate your school so much." The guy leaned heavily against his shoulder, gave me a glance full of meaning, something I could never quite grasp. Quý Khôi, with his deadpan voice, casually reminded me he told me not to come acting like my words were floating into the ether. He strode toward the exit. For a scrape this size, the store's first aid stuff should suffice, but maybe he was just being an overprotective mother hen. His arms tightened around the guy's waist, such a cozy, unguarded embrace with a worried look that screamed, "You're important to me." Quý Khôi passed by me, leaned in, and whispered, "Leave the door unlocked for me tonight." I didn't respond, turning away to let them get to that kid. The incident was beyond the reach of the cameras. I replayed the footage multiple times, but still couldn't wrap my head around what tripped him up. Did I get blamed for this? Just prayed a file wouldn't be left behind. Meanwhile, the body of my social life exited the convenience store, plopping down under the dormitory. Quý Khôi's car was parked there. He leaned against it, fingers flickering like a magician with a cigarette I hadn't seen before. He was puffing away, clearly in a totally lousy mood. Was he seriously planning to demand justice for that poor guy? Like that bruise would heal by itself without any intervention. I rubbed my nose and stepped in front of him. "Koi, I'll take full responsibility for what happened on my watch." Quý Khôi snickered, completely cutting off my half-hearted attempt to apologize. I was lost on what his grin meant, and he looked up with a fierce glare under the flickering street lamps. The dim lighting made me shiver a bit. "So now you want to own up, huh?" I was about to take a breather when a small white object flew straight at my face, clattering to the ground. One glance and I realized Quý Khôi had just gestured for someone to grab a 24-hour pharmacy kit, the same place I got my pregnancy test from. Maybe I was just too worn out to panic. I bent down to pick it up when suddenly my hair was yanked back with enough force to rattle my brain. I groaned a bit, trapped in an awkward standoff with him. His dark eyes were blazing with fury. "Vi, did you get someone pregnant or what?" I was silent, my brain turned to mush, as he clenched his teeth and held my wrist like a vice. "Can't believe I used to think I was good at acting. Come on, don't tell me you forgot how to buy protection." Squinting at him made me silence myself even more. Suddenly, he burst out laughing derisively. "Oh, now it makes sense. You're slaving away at the convenience store because you're super broke. How pathetic is that?" But it was true. This life ain't winning any awards. Quý Khôi let go, slammed his car door, and sped off without looking back. The dorm manager, awakened by the noise, went from grumpy to concerned upon seeing me. "Hey kid, take care of yourself. There's a whole future ahead." I picked up the pregnancy test, stuffed it in my pocket, and mumbled, "Sorry, ma'am." Exhausting to the point where climbing the 4th floor felt like walking on a tightrope. Opening my door, the sugary smell of candy hit me right in the face. Quý Khôi had remembered to bring me a souvenir from his business trip. I stood dumbstruck before my desk, eyeing the last piece of candy, like it was the holy grail. Grabbed the cheapest chocolate bar, peeled it open slowly, and popped it in my mouth so sweet it could rot your teeth. If happiness were a chocolate bar, then I was that poor kid drooling over it. Quý Khôi wasn't coming back. Guys like him don't worry about the grind of life. If the Khôi family hadn't hit a big snag years ago, keeping him from traveling abroad, he wouldn't have wound up at this regular university or met me of all people. I stayed busy every day, so busy that I hardly had time to think. Half a month flew by before I finally got a golden offer from a dream company during the last hiring wave. After I wrapped up my resignation at the old company, the HR lady looked relieved. "Thank goodness I didn't mess up my chance," I asked. "So can I get my internship paycheck early?" She blinked at me. "Sorry, no can do." I had to accept it because I gathered just enough cash to handle the, well, you know. My thesis was done and just needed a defense presentation. With a bit of time before starting my new job, I could finally take a breather. The student who fell at the convenience store never came around asking for compensation. What's the deal? Good news all around. Strolling back to campus felt like walking on clouds. I scheduled a checkup for next week and stared at the confirmation message like it was my ticket to freedom. After days of stress tighter than a guitar string, I finally felt a wave of relief wash over me. Despite a few bumps on the road, I'd managed to get back on track safely. Before heading back to my dorm, I grabbed some milk and fruit thanks dorm manager. The place was eerily quiet as graduation approached, with only a few souls dragging several loaded suitcases out. This nightmare was finally coming to an end. 4 years of drudgery and a dream gone awry. Thank goodness. As I took a light step up the last 2 stairs, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen to see family flashing and felt my mood drop like a lead balloon. A voice in my head shouted, "Don't pick up! Don't pick up!" My fingers started to tremble uncontrollably. I meant to decline but misfired and accidentally answered. A male voice came crashing into my ear. "Have you gone deaf? It's been ages since you picked up." My joints felt like they were frozen in place as I squatted down, my mind going blank. What was happening? I already knew the answer, but I couldn't face the despair so quickly. What if it wasn't what I thought? What if he found my number again and sent money my way? Nope, that's purely fiction. I picked my phone back up, squeezing it tight. For the first time, I didn't want to agree to this guy who just switched gears while my cash flow was on life support. No cash. Find a way for me. My thoughts spiraled as the other end went silent, only for him to mock. "Guess I'll go find your little sister instead." My eyes went wide. She's only in middle school. Where's she gonna find cash? He burst out laughing, sounding like a demon, his words falling like bombs that left my eardrums ringing. In his mind, money was everything. Breathing heavily, my vision faded black and nausea washed over me. I heard my own voice echoing from miles away. "I'll transfer 631,000. Suddenly, I was left with not a penny to my name. My hand was shaking uncontrollably. I tried to hit deny, but jumped, dropping my phone, and accidentally hit the call button. A man's voice immediately blasted into my ear. "Have you gone deaf? It's been forever since you picked up." My joints stiffened, and I slowly sank to the ground. My head was spinning. What's going on deep down? I already knew the answer, but I didn't want to panic yet. What if it wasn't that? What if he knew I had already turned it off and wired the money to me? Of course, that was completely wishful thinking. I picked up the phone, gripping it tightly. This is the first time I didn't want to go along with the new transition, and now the new one has left me broke. If I don't have any, figure it out for me. But when I was left with nothing, the other end of the line went silent. Then laughed mockingly. "Okay, I'll go hunt for your sister." My eyes widened. "She's just in middle school. Where's she gonna get money from?" He burst out laughing, sounding like a devil, each word crashing in my ears like bomb explosions. In my heart, it really was about the money. My breath was quickening, my vision darkened, and nausea was creeping in. I could hear my own voice echoing from a distance. "Let me transfer 631,000. And just like that, I was left with not a single cent. A blank space in my mind made me think, just don't abort this little thing. Let it win enough to sneak out in a public restroom and get tossed down a storm drain where nobody sees, and then hit the fake button, and bam, I'm startled. Because that thought, what's the difference from a parent smothering me? I was left abandoned in a patch of reeds by the river since birth, by an old bachelor in the village, and besides me, there were 2 older sisters and a younger sister. It sounds like a heartwarming story, but only we know how wicked he truly is. Remember those abandoned kids? He collected monthly benefits, then burned all that cash at the casino. The oldest sister was married off when she hit a certain age, and the second sister vanished after he lost big one night, chased by loan sharks. I tricked him into letting me work part-time, using a student loan to keep schooling, thinking I could escape his grasp. But today, I realized I'll never get away. I lay in the dorm for 2 days, the world around me quiet as a tomb. Just when I thought I'd be forever lost in this slumber, that blaring ringtone shattered the stillness. Instinctively, I threw the blanket over my head, trembling in fear. Thankfully, after a minute of ringing, it finally stopped. Before I could collect myself, it rang again. After 2 rounds of relentless calls, I finally dared to poke my head out. The person calling me was persistent enough that it surely couldn't be family. As soon as I touched the phone, the connection cut off. Turns out it was Quý Khôi. I stared blankly at the pitch-black screen. What did he want with me now? Our thing had been over for ages. I was still lost in thought when the bell rang again. This time I answered, but the other end was silent, only the sound of frantic breathing. Holding back my rising anger, I replied, "Why are you calling now? I was sleeping and I've moved out." A notification about an overdue electricity bill for the dorm suddenly made sense of why the lights hadn't been working for the past 2 days. I thought it was just a burnt-out bulb. Seeing me silent, his voice suddenly flared up. "You moved in with that chick, huh? No need to deny it. If he wanted to misunderstand, let him be." My silence made him go quiet for such a long time I thought he had hung up. Glancing at my screen, it was still lit. "Jiang, you in trouble. What even am I?" My screen dimmed, not someone hanging up on me. My phone shut down because the battery died. I lay there for a moment until the light above flicked on. With my eyes squeezed shut from the brightness, I punished myself by staring at the light bulb before hauling myself up. No way am I going to die in this dorm. I don't want to bother the manager. Jumping out of bed, I plugged in my charger and turned my phone on. No unread messages. Turns out Quý Khôi paying the electricity bill was his last act of kindness. He didn't even bother to show up for graduation. My stuff in the dorm was quite minimal, but all high-end brands. I don't even want to know how Quý Khôi is going to deal with that. I quietly packed up my things and headed down to throw out my useless crap. 2 classmates were rolling their suitcases out and waved at me. In 4 years, aside from class hours, I've been hustling. If I could count how many classmates remembered me by name, it'd be less than 5 fingers yet. At the last minute, these casual acquaintances were saying their goodbyes. Noticing their gazes lingering a bit too long on my belly, I awkwardly tugged at my shirt. Man, it's growing so fast, it's now visible to the naked eye. All my internship money went into rent. Not a dime left to deal with this situation. Guess I might have to call it a life now. Standing still for a few deep breaths to calm my worries, I was turning back when I heard someone calling from behind. "Hey, can I steal a minute of your time?" I halted, eyeing the guy in a black shirt with slicked back hair, the scent of cologne too strong. He seemingly lurked around here for a while. Taking a step back, he grinned widely and approached me. "Have you found a job yet? If not, I've got a chill gig for you hunting people down. Recruiting staff at this hour." I cautiously shook my head, saying I'm already employed. "I can get you a side gig." He pitched a few extra bucks. Working evenings pays more than a desk job. It'd be a waste for a guy like you not to cash in on that. I quickly figured out this wasn't the kind of respectable job I wanted. "No thanks," I said, attempting to walk away, but he gripped my wrist hard. "Come on, let me show you my ride first. If you don't like it, I'll drop you off right away. Let go of me." His grip was like iron, and as I was reaching for my phone, a gust of wind knocked against my ear, and I heard a thud. The guy staggered back, the friendly mask peeling off his face, but when he caught sight of the person next to me, he froze like a deer caught in headlights. Quý Khôi slammed him to the ground, his voice icier than a winter's night. "Where were you guys?" "Mr. misunderstood something. My dad didn't know you were one of his," the guy pleaded. "Please let me off the hook this time," and Quý Khôi smirked, tightening his grip until the guy squealed. Finally, he let the guy go, and words that came out made Quý Khôi pause. The man broke free and started to bolt. Quý Khôi had changed. The once arrogant swagger faded, replaced by a chilling intensity. I shifted my focus elsewhere. Tonight I'd go back to my rental. He surely couldn't follow me in there. Yet, predictably, I was stopped. Go home," his voice turned somber, pulling me close. Oh, he turned to me, dragging me back to the dorm. "Let go, I'm not going back." Instinctively, I felt something bad was about to happen. His grip tightened around my waist. "Aren't you going to check your first aid kit? You're injured." Eventually, I had to head upstairs. The injury was just a scrape from the fight earlier. I applied ointment on him, a bit rough, and he winced in pain. He'd never made a sound during his more serious injuries before. Maybe my hands were just clumsy. Does it hurt that much? Even if he cried out, I wouldn't feel a shred of sympathy for him. Relating to the earlier scenario, I doubted he was acting. This wasn't some actor he'd hired, right? Not at all. Quý Khôi's face was as cold as ice, and while I wasn't sure what his game was, he definitely needed to explain himself. Changing the tone, he gripped my hand tightly to keep me safe. "You need to stay here for a bit. We gotta hide out." I yanked my hand away, cleaned up the first aid kit, and pulled my suitcase out from under my desk. Quý Khôi watched me silently, which wasn't like him at all. Just as I stepped outside, I suddenly felt weightless. When I came to my senses, he had scooped me up and placed me on the table. "Play nice, Quý Khôi, just don't do it." In that rental room, surely he couldn't get in. But sure enough, I was blocked. "Head home, homeward bound." His voice suddenly dipped lower alongside that kid. Oh, he spun me around, dragging me back to the dorm. "Let go, I'm not going home." Something in the air whispered to me that something bad was about to happen. His arms tightened around my waist. "Isn't there a first aid kit? You got hurt." Finally, I had to go upstairs. The wound was merely a scrape from the earlier fight. I applied some ointment on him a bit rougher than usual, making Mr. Khoi yelp in pain right in front of me. Despite being hurt worse before, he had never let out a whimper. Or maybe my hands were just clumsier now. Does it hurt that much? Even if he did cry out, it obviously meant nothing to me. Relating it to earlier, I began to suspect he was putting on an act. That guy is just an actor you hired, right? No, Mr. Khoi's face was as cold as ice, and I couldn't figure out what his purpose was, but he was determined to explain things to me. Changing his tone, he held my hand tightly to ensure my safety. "You should move in here temporarily. We need to hide, like right now." I jerked my hand away, gathering up the medicine box, pulling the suitcase out from under the table. Mr. Khoi stood silently observing the entire scene, not at all like his usual self. The moment I stepped through the door, I suddenly felt as light as a feather. Once I regained my wits, he had already scooped me up and placed me on the table. "Wicked schemes, Mr. Khoi, just cut it out. Stop fooling around, let go of that crap. You're dreaming, dude." "Yeah, I'm serious." He buried his face into my neck and took a deep whiff of my fragrance. "Jiang Wei, I swear I miss you so much it's killing me, my heart's going haywire." I can't shake off the pull from that croissant and the lighthouse. I subconsciously wrapped my arms around him, but then panicked and let go. Quý Khôi was startled, eyes wide as saucers staring right into my sparkly eyes. "I sure hope, Jiang Wei, that in this crazy world there are no misunderstandings, and you like me too, right? That thing with her was just a freak accident you have to take responsibility for." Yeah, I tried to turn my head away. Clearly, he didn't believe me. I could compensate her with anything, but you, Jiang Wei, stay here with me, but dude, he's already got someone. Here I am, just a wasted existence. Being the homewrecker for Quý Khôi is morally bankrupt, isn't it? It's like signing up to work for some dude I just met. I couldn't see his expression clearly in that dim light, but his rough hand brushed my cheek and it hurt a bit. I can't not remember that chaotic night stifling my breaths as that voice trembled. Quý Khôi, Those last words choked off. His kiss knocked the air out of me, leaving my brain in a dizzy whirl. My limbs felt weak, and I shoved him away, shaking while buttoning up my shirt. Quý Khôi wasn't angry. His face was just as shocked as mine. "Jiang Wei, are you sick?" "Not just from eating too much," I added. "All right, I'm heading home," I said, but he stopped me, his other hand lifting my shirt gently, though shaking. "Jiang Wei, let's go to the hospital." I was about to refuse when he cut me off. "To the hospital, no arguments." Fixing my clothes, I turned to grab the keys. Looking at his back, I closed my eyes. "Quý Khôi, it's pointless to say anything now. We have to go. You're pregnant." The keys clattered to the floor. What did you just say in that private hospital of the Quý family? I finally realized why my biological parents abandoned me, a congenital chromosomal anomaly with an extra chromosome in pair 23 causing me to have additional female reproductive organs. A freak of nature. I never noticed before because my reproductive system hadn't developed, but now, under external forces and hormonal changes, everything was functioning normally. There were 2 surgical options: removal to preserve my male identity or treatment. Hormonal preservation, keeping the baby. No need to think the answer hurt too much. I hesitated while Quý Khôi stood smoking in the hallway for what felt like an eternity. Finally, he walked into the room, still quiet against the wall. I sat up, picking up an apple core from the bedside. "The doctors here are pretty good. This surgery isn't high risk." "Don't worry," he said. I stayed silent, stealing a quick glance at his face. "Quý Khôi, can I borrow some money?" I mumbled, looking at the apple peel. Quý Khôi expression didn't change, but the veins popped out. "No need to worry about the surgery recovery costs. You don't have to stress. If I'm saying this, you know what I mean. You want to keep Jiang Wei, right?" His voice suddenly grew fierce. "Snap back to reality. It's a bastard child because of you being forced." My chest felt constricted. I gripped the edge of the blanket. The room was dead quiet while the anger on his face melted into surprise, tone trembling. "You're saying it was voluntary. Want to ask me, but you just shut me up when I tried to answer." I nodded. Quý Khôi finally released me. After a while, "Who the heck did this to you? You'll get the money, but I need to know who did this." I glanced at Quý Khôi, angry and biting his lip. If he finds out the truth, the Quý family will definitely hold on to the child. I really don't want that. It's hard to describe this strange feeling. Over 20 years living this human life, family bonds, love, money. None of it's ever been mine. And now there's a life that is genuinely mine. counting the time we've always been together except for last year's birthday. When I passed out, the housekeeper told me I went home with someone else. Who the heck is Jiang Wei? Who are you? Seriously, who were those people at that party? They're all top-notch players. You're either a big fish or you're fish food. Are you kidding me if you deal with these folks? I slowly nestled into the blanket. Quý Khôi, you and that guy have no future. I can't help you. You'll have to manage on your own. Quý Khôi relented on the condition I'd have to move back in with him. I shook my head. Nope, my rented room is just fine. I'm about to start work and can get that paycheck. Half goes to my tuition, and that other half is pocketed by that old guy. Now Quý Khôi backpedaling, saying he'll buy me a place near the office, just the two of us. What are we, a piggy bank that holders bring out to feed? You think I forgot who you are? I can make your life a living hell to get you on the operating table, he said, which was correct in the end. We struck a deal. So I was still living in my rented room while Quý Khôi kept the keys and came over at least once a week. Thank goodness I mostly called the shots. The next day, Quý Khôi transferred me some money, labeling it a gift. He texted asking if it was a loan, so why the gift nature moments? Later he replied, the kid's fine, better let him know how rich his stepdad is, don't mess with me. I felt a pang of longing. If only he didn't have that. Before I could think deeply, Quý Khôi transferred another sum, no strings attached, but I took it back and calculated it. Yep, it was aimed squarely at my salary. That night, the moment Quý Khôi walked in, he swooped in for a kiss that left me weak in the knees. I totally got the gist of what interest means. I was too mushy, couldn't even stand up, and he swept me right into the room. Thankfully, with his health on the line, he just kissed and didn't go further. Late at night, I was up making noodles amid the bubbling water. I stared at the blue flame, lost in thought. This day would pass too. Where would I be next? Long was restless, checking the banking app for my balance. Seeing the long string of numbers gave me peace. Yep, I guess I'm living life cashing in while waiting for him to marry. I better run clutching money to my stomach. Quý Khôi wrapped his arms around my waist, resting his chin on my shoulder playfully. Wifey, I'm hungry. Bring a bowl here. I bought that bowl from the student market for $2,000. Originally a pair, little did I know, those days of being super thrifty would sprout new feelings. After Quý Khôi finished his noodles, he turned and devoured mine too, while I was worn out. Aren't you tired of this? He asked, truly sounding bothered. I sighed and clamped my mouth shut tightly. Just a light week flew by after leaving the hospital. Muay picked me up at the mansion, and boy, my bed is huge. He was driving and casually dropped a surprise on me. You know already. After tossing and turning all night, I'm still not exactly dry. Muay tilted his head and raised an eyebrow, and I calmly said without blinking that I was just joking. In my dreams, did I ever see a bed like mine, and would I actually be on it? Guess what? The car smoothly rolled into the villa. No need to guess anymore. Turn that dream into a reality already. As soon as we walked through the door, I saw the guy from the convenience store sitting on the sofa, and I knew right away my dream would just have to wait. He got up with a gentle smile. Hey Muay, I've been waiting for you all day. His gaze flicked over to me, and his smile instantly vanished. Who's this? The convenience store clerk, right? That familiar rival look shot at me. I figured out who he was right away. The betrothed of Muay, who looked like he was trying to escape. I awkwardly nodded and silently took a step back. Muay opened his mouth just as his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his eyebrows knitted together. Jiang Vi. Head on up to my room. I just need to handle a little something. Is he really saying that in front of his fiancée? My brother didn't dare go to the room and just flopped down on the sofa, stiff as a board, the moment he saw Muay. The guy vanished in an instant. Taking off his mask, he sipped his tea while eyeing me and Muay, who had known each other since childhood. You know, we were supposed to get engaged this fall. Right. My face heated up and my hands started fidgeting, not knowing where to put them. I'm sorry, I'll be stepping away from him soon. Hearing that he looked surprised, then quickly regained his disdainful demeanor and left. You'd really do that. I bowed my head and said, honestly, right now, he just won't let go. He lightly placed his tea down, staring at me intently for a long moment. The corners of his eyes suddenly perked up an intrigued look on his face. Oh, really? You want to leave? Yeah, I replied, not fond of Muay at all. Not important. He slid his phone toward me. Let's be friends. I'll help you out. I was taken aback. Help me out how? His suddenly warm attitude felt like a trick. Indeed, help me escape Muay. I doubted him, but noted down his name. The powerful family of Muay wouldn't have a reach on me after all. I'll take you away, and once everything's settled, I'll bring you back." That felt oddly familiar. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Nanso squinted his eyes, smiling, but with a hidden darkness behind them, a place he couldn't find or control. I still found it strange. What's in it for you to help me? Of course, it's just as convenient for me, too. Not long after, Muay came back with an icy expression. "Where have you been?" I jumped at his tone. "I'm back now," Muay said, gently stroking my cheek, his face softening a bit. "I need to step out for a bit. You can sleep first." My gut told me he planned to find Nanso, and an uneasy feeling swelled in my chest. Why didn't I want him to go? I shook my head. Why was I thinking this way? Am I being influenced by love hormones or what? Whatever it was, it's terrifying. I'm slowly turning into the very type of person I used to disdain. At this rate, I'll end up happily being Mui's little mistress. Just wait, doing nothing, just anticipating his visits. There's no way Mui would be out all night. I lay on his gigantic bed staring up at the ceiling from dusk till dawn and finally decided to head home. At the door, I met the butler, who nodded politely at me. I awkwardly apologized for the last time he helped me make up an excuse to get back to school. I also promised not to get involved anymore. He shook his head. That's the master's choice. Muai's choice was to soothe me and then spend the night with his fiancée. Being in an arranged marriage is exhausting. I was so sleepy that I tucked myself in and didn't open my eyes until I saw Mui's sleeping face. My mind went blank, unable to process quickly. When did he come back? He wrapped me up with his entire self, and I had no clue. Holding my breath, I tried to ease back, but before I could break free from his grasp, he tightened his hold, like trying to catch water useless. I couldn't tell if he was sleeping or awake, but either way, he could still close his eyes and kiss all over me. I remember that first time he mistook me for someone else like this too. "I want to marry you." His slurred voice drifted in my ears, the flame that had flared up quickly extinguished under the blazing sun. This enchanted dream has turned into an unrealistic fantasy. "Sure, go ahead and marry," I replied. Mui opened his eyes, looking clear as day. No traces of slumber in them, the corners of his mouth slightly curled. He took my hand and kissed my fingertips. "Just wait a little longer, not now. Wait until autumn comes, when the summer moon wanes, blooming where flowers blossom. After fall, everything will wilt." Last night, Muai must have been exhausted because he slept till the afternoon. I had just finished answering an email when I turned to see him still dazed. "Are you having dinner or not?" Just as I was about to ask for the house keys, Muai had already been hit by so many of them. The chef expertly cleared the table and brought out the dishes, each person with their own plate. They came quietly like spies, dead silence as they finished their duties and vanished without a trace. Muai's eating habits completely contradicted with his elegant style. As he chewed slowly, he suddenly asked why I declined that job. A piece of lotus stem slipped off my chopsticks and fell. Mui gently picked up that lotus stem and placed it in my bowl. "Did you see that?" I mumbled, looking down. "Yeah, I suddenly feel turned off. After a while, look for a more suitable job. Don't bother looking anymore." "Do you think I can't support you?" "I know, just lie there with my mouth open and wait for food," I responded, firmly lifting my head with a cheerful smile, but then I noticed the crease in his brow. "Oh, so you were just joking?" "Of course not." His gaze was fixed on me, his face as calm as still water. "I'm afraid you might be the one joking." I scooped up a spoonful of rice, stuffing my mouth and imitating his slurred tone. "Of course not." After dinner, staff appeared out of nowhere at lightning speed to wash the dishes and then disappeared. Their work ethic is truly commendable. I exclaimed, "Your staff is so good. Mui must be even more impressive. The future head of the Mui family. How could he not be exceptional? But it must be tough too, right?" Thinking of a life philosophy of not having regrets, I took a deep breath and asked Mui, "What exactly do you like about me? After all, we're from different worlds." "Aren't you human?" "That's not what I mean. I mean, we're not in the same social circle or class. Back in life skills class, those idiots wasted resources while cooking, serving up meals that looked like pig slop, and yet took pride in it." I thought, "What a world. Are you even human?" That's not what I meant. I meant I'm not in the same social circle or class. Back when we were learning life skills, those dummies wasted resources cooking up slop like pig feed, and they were still proud. Think about it. So you're with them. Why are you bringing up freshman year when I've been cleaning up this mess for 4 years? Quý Khôi is like a dragon. You see the head, but never the tail. and that's one of the few times we crossed paths. I can't believe you still remember I love the scent of everyday life. I shook my head. You're just existing. Quý Khôi wrapped his arms around me, his voice warm. It's the sweetest time just being with you. In that moment, countless images flashed of the scars he carries. Calmly, he said, maybe I'll die there. Maybe we're all just trying to survive. But don't worry later on. There won't be any danger. His dad was mad. It's because he secretly cut ties with the family's shady business. But he had 2 fights with his dad. Oh, and the second time was over Nan. So because of that betrothal they set up when they were kids. He was kidnapped, and his granddad took a bullet for him. The last time he flew, I suddenly didn't want to hear more. Couldn't tell if it was the story about him and Enon. So that was bothering me, or if I couldn't bear to hear him reopen old wounds. I interrupted. Quý Khôi, the doctor said after 3 months we can do it right. He suddenly stopped speaking, smiled, ruffled my hair. How can you tempt me like this? The doctor agreed, but his smile slowly faded. You're serious about this, right? Of course, my throat tightened as Quý Khôi's gaze sank into darkness. His eyes skimmed over my belly before he shook his head. He wasn't exactly a beast. I looked down my cheeks, a bright red. But your belly's a little round. That lower back of mine has been aching every day. This time, I almost couldn't stand up. Earlier, Quý Khôi had cleared out all the guards. Now, late at night, the surroundings were eerily quiet. I suspected this whole building had long been empty of familiar tenants. I tightened my coat and quietly stepped down. Under the night sky, a black car was parked right beside the curb. I slowly made my way toward it, heading into a future I chose for myself. The door swung open and a heavy scent of perfume hit my nose. My head buzzed with dry snapping sounds. I slowly raised my eyes to meet a familiar face, the guy in black who had dragged me under the dorm. My brain felt like it was exploding, and as I turned to run, I was already pulled into the car. The door slammed shut and my heart plummeted into a bottomless pit. It was over. Nan So twisted around from the front seat. He had some new scars on his face, and his smile under the moonlight was cold as ice. I struggled to stay calm and reached for the door. Let me go. I've changed my mind. Of course, the door didn't budge. I didn't understand what was happening. Nan So looked like a madman exuding a suffocating vibe. Jiang V ready to head to hell together. Who'd want to go with you? I fumbled for my phone, but as soon as I touched it, the black-clad guy snatched it away. The blade pierced through the screen, and my blood ran cold. None, so I've decided to walk away, so why can't you just let me go? He chuckled darkly. Let you go, what for? I've been tied to Quý Khôi for over 20 years. How long have you known him? Why would Quý Khôi treat me like this because of you? Oh, what's he doing to you? I genuinely had no idea he had completely lost his mind. It dawned on me that I needed to get out of there fast or I'd end up dead. I started banging on the door like a madman. After just 2 bangs, the black-clad guy locked it tight and wouldn't budge. It felt like the whole street was deserted. Nobody was there to save me. Nan So coldly ordered the driver to go. I collapsed onto the seat, squeezing my eyes shut, but the car still wouldn't move. Nan So growled at the driver. Are you deaf? The driver's voice was calm. What do you mean, not enough people? Just as he said that, the car door opened and Quý Khôi stepped in, sitting next to me. Now it was all enough. Nan So's face suddenly turned pale as he yelled at the black-clad guy. Why are you just sitting there? The guy hurriedly pulled out the knife at Quý Khôi. Boss, I didn't touch any important spots on him. Practiced that at least 10 times. Nan So was stunned. With wide eyes, he asked, what if I did? The guy laughed. Does it hurt? I used just a little pressure. Quý Khôi shot him a glance, and the guy quickly withdrew his hand, pulling back into the corner. The crazy guy trying to open the door was now Nan So. Of course, the door was still firmly shut. Quý Khôi leisurely lifted his foot and kicked hard into the back of the front seat. Nan So, I already gave you a lifeline. Quý Khôi's second showdown with the Quý family was to cancel the engagement because he didn't need to handle this. He specially flew abroad to settle the lingering conflicts with the Nan family. It was here that he accidentally discovered that the kidnapping from years ago was actually staged by Nan So's granddad, sacrificing one life to save the entire family, teetering on the edge of collapse. Thinking of their years of friendship, Quý Khôi chose the path of forgiveness on the condition that Nan So abandon his wild fantasies. Then they could still be good friends. Unfortunately, Nan So didn't agree and even plotted to lure me into a nightclub to completely destroy me. After Quý Khôi taught him a lesson he'd never forget, he still wouldn't back down. So from the beginning, did he know I was planning to run away? My legs felt like jelly from fear. Quý Khôi laid me on the bed and scoffed softly when I transferred all my money to my sister. I had naively thought he'd finally accept my choice. Little did I know he was immediately plotting to leave. Having been deceived by him multiple times, I was immune to his tricks now. Jiang V, you're acting strange tonight. Do you think I'm that dumb? Ha ha, you're just overthinking it. Let's go to sleep then. Don't you have anything else to say to me? I knew it would be impossible for me to rest tonight. Before I was dragged away, Nonso screamed, if that flight hadn't been delayed, the one getting into bed with him would have been me, not you. Quý Khôi nearly ripped me apart right there in the car. Jiang V, I once thought that birthday night was a dream, feeling your fiery kisses. Now I'm going to see if it was all just a dream. I was choking up. Quý Khôi, are you a beast? He chuckled softly and nodded. Yeah, I am indeed a beast. I will verify if this is just a dream. I choked up. Mr. Khôi, are you an animal? He chuckled softly and nodded. Yep, I'm definitely a beast.